What's going on, guys? It's Ocean from the South Stand, back again with another video. Today we're of course going to be checking in post-match on the Man United Sunderland game, where Sunderland suffered our second defeat of the season, a 2-0 on the road to Old Trafford. And look, there's probably plenty of reasons why you can maybe be upset by the performance. I do think it was probably our poorest performance in the first half in particular that we've had all season. But yeah, there's lots to discuss in this video. As always, this one's brought to you by the southstandclothing.com for all your Sunderland fanwear, t-shirts, hat, merch, prints, posters, mugs, all that. Go and check out the southstandclothing.com and we'll get right into this one. Coming out the gates, so let's quickly discuss the team list. Of course, there was a few changes compared to the team that we started with against Nottingham Forest. The main changes being that Chemstein Talby didn't start. Instead, it was Bertrand Traore. On the left wing, we had Simon Adingra back in the starting position as Enzo Lefebvre was moved into central midfield. First, when I seen this, I was a little bit anxious just because, based on last week's performance with Arthur Masuaku in at left back position, I don't think he offered enough cover defensively. And when you've got Enzo Lefebvre on that left wing, who's quite happy to run up and down, offer defensive cover, even though he's a small lad, still quite happy to put in a challenge. With Simon Adingra, I had been concerned about his work rate off the ball, and not so much his work rate because he gets in the positions, but the fact that he's not really great at putting in a challenge. He doesn't make much tackles. So I did feel that that left hand side was going to be exposed quite a bit. And also then moving on to Enzo, everyone knows if you've been watching these videos how much I love Enzo and see his value off the ball. But I think when it comes to central midfield in such a physical league like the Premier League, with Casemiro being the person he's probably going to be up against, I did feel that he was maybe physicality wise best suited to the left wing in the Prem so far. And then of course starting with Bertrand Traore on the right hand side, I was a little bit less anxious about it in the instance that I think so far from what we've seen, he has offered a lot going forward and we haven't been able to see too much of him to get a picture defensively. But I think it was clear within that first half when Bertrand is not going forward with the ball, he's almost like a passenger, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But I do think that he never really offered anywhere close to enough off the ball defensive work. Getting into the game and how it started, so 3 minutes in, Sunderland had a fantastic opportunity to go 1-0 ahead. We see the build up play through the left hand side, Wilson Isidore getting the ball after Man United turned over possession. A few quick passes, and then it's through to Simon Adingra in that top left corner, swinging the ball in for Bertrand Traore. Traore, I think he gets literally a touch to it, but he barely touches the ball and he misses what's basically an open net. That is the type of chances we need to be putting in the Prem, especially 3 minutes into a game. If you go 1-0 up within 3 minutes, it's a very, very different game for Man United. And we've seen it in this instance when he didn't put the ball away. 4 minutes later, Man United end up going up 1-0. And really, realistically, both the goals we conceded today were absolutely avoidable, and I think they were due to Sunderland mistakes. In particular, the first one. So, touching on Masuaku's poor defence, because he is so susceptible to be getting beaten by his man on that left hand side, we were basically doubling up and sending people over to help him. So, in the instance of the first goal, you'll see that Siddiqui goes over to help him and double up on the right hand side because Mbeumo and Amad Diallo were just having a field day. Both of them interchanging inside and outside runs, overlapping, underlapping, easy to get past Masuaku. So Siddiqui goes over to join them. We see that Xhaka is occupied with Bruno Fernandes. Mukiele and Alderete are both obviously occupied with Benjamin Sesko. And then it means that Mason Mount is pretty much free with no man marking him on the edge of the box. When you stop this frame and have a proper look at it, you can see that really Traore and Enzo could have done better man marking Mason Mount. But it all starts from the fact that we have to double up over on that left hand side to help out Masuaku. So yeah, Mason Mount gets the ball, puts the shot away. Man United up 1-0 within 7.5 minutes, and it was quite a preventable goal, as I've said, because we're going over there to double up with Masuaku and help him defend. And that wasn't the only time that happened. It happened throughout the game, so it meant that constantly our backline was getting stretched out and just really just missing the defensive organisation that's been so key to Sunderland's good performances for the first 7 games of the season. Yeah, the backline and defence just looked completely different to what we've been used to so far. And there was a couple times as well that Mukiele himself tracking back wasn't able to get in backline quick enough, and we end up defending with a backline of Alderete, Xhaka, Trey Hume, and then Masaraku. So not the best start in that instance. Throughout the first half, we see Robin Roofs make another three or four massive saves. If you ever get a chance to rewatch it, go and rewatch the Bruno Fernandes shot. It looks like it's destined for that top right corner, and yet somehow Robin Roofs managed to get a hand to it yet again. And then we see it again come 25 minutes in when Man United score their second goal. The poor defensive, and I think really that in this instance, this was probably the poorest defence we've seen from Sunderland so far this season. Man United get a long Man United get a throw in right by the corner flag. So we know straight away based on this season it's going to be a long throw. That's pretty much what everyone's doing. And of course from long throws you can't be offside. So at the front post, Man United have Delict, Euro and Casemiro, three of their biggest players. But somehow Sunderland get dragged into having Alderete, Xhaka, Mukiele and Masuraku all on that front post defending them. So four of our tallest players are occupied by three Man United players at the front post, pretty much means that in the middle of the park, in the middle of the box, you've got Trey Hume defending Benjamin Sesko. As previously spoken about, Benjamin Sesko is massive. He's 195 centimetres, and you've got Trey Hume, who's 170, 175, man marking him. Yeah, so all the lads get drawn to the front post. It's actually Mukiele who nods the ball into Benjamin Sesko's path. And then it's so easy for him to beat Trey Hume and just knock the ball in. And yeah, again, Siddiqui and Traore just stood watching the whole thing happen. I honestly don't know what the point of them even being in the box was if they're just going to stand and just watch them. But yeah, I think so far this season, that's definitely Sunderland's worst example of defending. And when I've given them so much praise for how much have improved in set pieces. I think they forgot every single thing they've been taught there because yeah, just the ball watchers, the fact that they're getting four of them are getting dragged to the front post and then not winning that first ball properly because Mukiele had every chance just to head it away, but yet flicked it into Benjamin Sesko's path. So I do think that was probably Sunderland's worst example of defending all season long, and it's something that I don't feel too worried about because I do think we'll be able to improve that one as the season goes on. But it's so clear how having Masuaku in the left back position is massively affecting us so far. It's completely disjointing our whole back line because of the amount of help we're having to offer him. And then, as I said, we're talking about liabilities defensively, and I touched on it earlier. Traore was just a liability defensively. I think he offered some things going forward this game. He definitely got himself into some good positions. And we've seen around the 56th minute when he had that kind of penalty shout, which I won't touch on too much today because I'm not 100% sure on my opinions of it. I do think the ref probably got it right not to award a penalty, but I do think it was also harsh to get him for diving because at the end of the day was sandwiched in between two players. I just don't think there was actually enough contact for him to properly go down, but I don't know. It's a bit of a contentious one. It's a hard one to really make your mind up on. So let me know in the comments down below what you thought of that penalty shout. I feel like as much as obviously I'm a Sunderland fan and I always want us to get the calls, if we get the penalty, brilliant, take it, put it away. But I don't think actually it was a penalty. But yeah, touching back onto that, Traore gets into that position because Sunderland Robin Roofs has managed to regain possession after a Man United attack. Traore sees this and instantly turns and starts running. That was the best of what we've seen from him. His runs, he was able to get in some brilliant positions, and even that first chance that he had within the first 3 minutes, he doesn't get as clear a chance if he wasn't as switched on and intelligent enough to cut his run onto the inside of Delict, put it in his blind spot and really get behind him that way. I think if he'd have done the standard run, which is maybe a bit of a less experienced player, and ran direct to the right hand side of him, Delict probably could have defended it. But it was his clever run. It was his clever. It was his intelligence to make sure that he caught his running behind that got him that opportunity. And we've seen it a couple of times. His ability to run into good spaces while doing well, and we got plenty of opportunities through him. However, defensively, again, just talking about the fact that he's a liability, he's like a passenger off the ball. And we've seen it. There was 2 or 3 chances where Man United, all they had to do was simply pass around him because they knew that he wasn't going to track back or work hard enough to try and get the ball back off them. So it was pretty much it was easy as for Man United just to pass around them and get their opportunities that way. So that's what you miss when you don't have Talby playing. I think for all the good things that Traore did going forward, I think those things will grow into Talby's game anyway. It's just a difference between them being left and right footed. But with Traore, he doesn't even lace Talby's boots when it comes to how hard he works off the ball. And we've seen that when Talby came on in the second half, again, moved into a kind of left wing back role. We've seen how hard he's willing to work. And I think that's step one in being a good player in a reduced Libris side, especially in a Premier League side where we might not have the quality to compete with other teams sometimes. We should have the work rate and effort. And it didn't really come from Traore today. Speaking of subs in the second half, I think I really liked to see Mayenda come on and see the link up play that he had, those runs from deep that he managed to make, dribbling past a few players. It almost reminded me at times when he done one of those runs up and managed to get his shot away in the end. It reminded me of that goal against Bristol City away last year when he literally just slallomed past 8, 9 players and managed to put the ball in the back of the net. I do miss having Mayenda start the games because as much as I've called for Isidore to start the last few weeks, I think when you see Mayenda come on and see his ability to run and make it past players, it does offer you it does mean that you kind of spend your time thinking if we made the right decision having Wilson start because Wilson was so effective when he came on in the second half, and Eliza was more than happy to do his bit there, dropping in deep and dribbling anyway. I think more than anything, it does get me thinking about the versatility we have in attack this year between our three strikers. All three of them offer something so different to each other that I think it gives Regis so many options. And we seen it last year. He was willing to dip into having two strikers on the park at the same time. And I think some of Mayenda and Wilson's best parts last year came from when they were both on the pitch. They're really able to complement each other, and it's that classic little and large partnership. I would be excited to see as well how Mayenda could possibly link up with Broby if they were on the field at the same time. I do think this 4-4-2 style play that we had last year, it did offer us something. I don't think we could get away with starting like that in the Premier League. But whilst we're in the position of having three at the back the last couple games with the whole Masuaku problem, is it something we can look at by going 3-5-2? Because I think that at least with Wilson and Eliza, they work really well in a partnership up too, and I think you could have Eliza sit just in behind Wilson and go that way. But I think there's lots of options and ways you can discuss this striking partnership or just even getting the three strikers rotated properly. I'd love to see more of Broby. We've not got to see a proper shot at him yet. From what we have seen, he looks strong, he looks physical. First touch, maybe going a wee bit off, but when you've not had some proper up to speed game time like he hasn't, I think that's always missing is just getting a few weeks, a few games under his belt. But it's hard to really pick the starting striker for Sunderland at the minute because they all offer something different. Yeah, I just think it got me thinking at the weekend how I miss the times of Sunderland dipping into a 4-4-2 or Sunderland dipping into at least two strikers. I enjoyed that when it happened last season, and having three versatile strikers who all offer something different has really got me thinking about it. But look, that was my main points from the match this week. I know that is probably more negatives than you're used to getting on this channel. I do like to try and be positive about Sunderland, but sometimes you just got to admit when you weren't at the races. And I think today was one of those games where, well, sorry, I say today. I think this weekend was one of those games where Sunderland showed up, maybe offered Man United a little bit much respect. I think they maybe let the occasion of Old Trafford get to their head a little. And yeah, I just don't think they were 100% switched on. I think if Sunderland start this game with Diarra and start this game with Ronaldo at left back, I think it could be a very, very different game. But if sputs and maybes, it's been and gone now. We've been away to Old Trafford and came away with nothing, is what it is. We'll have plenty of chances to fix it and make it right. But even just the fact that Man United have still got to come to the Stadium of Light this season, I think we could see a very different game that time round. I don't believe that this is Man United fixed by any sort of means. I think we just didn't take our chances enough today. And I think that Regis Lebris probably got the starting lineup a little bit wrong. I'm happy that Regis is willing to fix his mistakes so quickly. He doesn't have like a pride issue when it comes to making substitutions within the first half. We've seen it before. He brought on Ballard this time round. But yeah, I think Regis acknowledged that he maybe made a mistake with the starting lineup and fixed that as quick as he could. And that's really all you can ask for from the managers is that they're willing to accept the mistakes and change them. And yeah, that's what we've seen this weekend. So look, that was all for this one. I think we'll see Sunderland play some far better games this season. But at the end of the day, second loss, 7 weeks in. I'm not going to complain too much. I think we've managed to come away from with the points total that we needed to go into this second international window. So I think there's lots better to come from Sunderland this season. Plenty of growing pains, teething pains, trying to figure out the best system that suits Regis. But yep, that was all for today, guys. As I said, I think we'll have plenty more games from Sunderland that are going to be better than what we've seen against Man United the weekend. But when have we ever been used to going to Man United and winning? Never really in my lifetime. I remember the Great Escape win, and I remember the penalties win, and that was probably, I think, the only two wins we've had in the last 30 visits. So it is what it is, folks. You've got to enjoy yourself whilst the wins come, hey? Anyway, that'll be all for today, guys. As always, this one's brought to you by the southstandclothing.com. Feel free to go and check out the South Stand, get yourself a t-shirt, get yourself a hat. And as always, if you have enjoyed today's video, like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. How are the lads? Come on.